Hi there, it's Hélène again with another video, and this time I am updating you on my Pan That palette for 2019. This is a palette that I have been working on since October of 2018, so it has been more than just 2019. But nonetheless, panning a palette is it's a gargantuan task. And if you've done it before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so the palette that I am panning is the Smashbox Matte Exposure, and you will see that I have quite a bit of progress. And I will have a little bit later in the video the progress over time. But I wanted to talk about a few things today. I wanted to talk about Tonal, actually, that used to be in here. I have repressed it. And I have some pictures of what it looked like at the time I repressed it and what it looked like at, once I repressed it and was drying, just so that you can see how much progress I have in here. I don't have very much left on Tonal. I expect fully to be done at the next update. Now, the last update for Pan That palette, I believe it was filmed on July 15th and it was published on July 17th. So this palette is a month and a half worth of use, and what I used very much was obviously Tonal, because it's here and it's almost gone. But I also dug a ton into these deeper shadows. I was using them as liners a whole lot, and also as an outer lid and outer crease color. And I was very surprised at how much I used these shadows, and I don't know if it shows up. Hopefully it'll show up in my pictures, but I have a significant dip in this one, which is Sumatra. And I've also started using Blackberry quite a bit. I'm really, really happy about that. Other colors that I've used quite a bit are these guys, Desert and Suede. I've used this quite a bit. So I've basically been focusing more on the warm side, which I am fine with. I think I'm going to continue to do that in this palette, focusing on those shadows, and will finish with a focus on the cool side. I think I get into habits, and I really am enjoying working on the warm side, and I don't see why I would just keep going back and forth in the palette if I have colors that right now are working for me as a complement to my palette roulette, palette collection roulette that I have going on with many of you who are participating. So I'm very much seeing this as a complementary palette, and that was my intent when I chose this palette for Pan That palette of 2019, and I will probably be doing that for 2020 as well, once I am through a number of these shadows. And I suspect that I will probably have some overlap between using this palette in 2019 and the palette that I will be choosing to use in 2020 that I'm probably going to start using later on this year. I highly recommend using a matte palette as a Pan That palette, and as a palette that can easily be paired with other palettes. I think mattes are flattering on everyone, and they're very easy to use and build for the most part. And I also think that neutral mattes are the most complementary to help produce any look. A neutral base in an eye look as a transition color, as a buildable color that you can mix with another, is extremely versatile, and it makes it less likely to get super bored of a palette because you know that you can constantly pair it with other things. Whereas if it's a Pan That palette that's kind of a standalone palette, that I think would drive me a little bit bananas. But I mean, that's my personal preference. I just found that neutral mattes, especially this one with a warm and a cool side, has been a perfect choice, at least for the first Pan That palette I've ever done. I'm super happy with it. I am not bored with it. And I've already been thinking about the fact that I probably want to continue using this palette after this year is done for whatever shades I don't finish. I still think that it is a very solid palette and that there is no single dud color in here, which I think is not that usual. So very happy with it, and let me just give you some updates on the weights. Now I did change my scales, and so I have a little bit of a conundrum here. My palette, this palette was weighed in at 180 grams on my old scale for July. It was on July 15th. And now my new scale is telling me that it weighs 181.18. I have definitely not added 1.18 grams to this palette. So unfortunately, I think my old scale was not all that accurate, and now I have a more accurate view. So what I'm going to say though is that I used half for sure of what was left in Tonal, and each one of these pans, the regular size pans, are about 1 gram. So I am going to say that I probably used about a half a gram of product, and being conservative, in the last month and a half. My pace so far has been about a half a pan per month of usage, and that's fine. I think that I am right in line with my regular usage, and now that we have the new starting weight for the scale, that I will be able to continue again in the future reporting back with precision on how much I have been able to use from this palette every time. One other thing that is going to be different is that I have to now measure with the brush inside the palette, for the simple reason that the palette, if I don't use the brush, this is now heavier and it tilts down. And so the weight with the brush in is 186.98. So that will be my official starting weight at this update, and that's what I'm going to be updating from now on, although I will give you the no brush weight of the palette as well if I feel that that is a second stat that you might be interested in. So we only have 4 more months in this year, but I have a feeling that we're going to see about, I think, 1 finished pan for sure, because Tonal I'm going to have finished, that's my prediction, finished by the next update. But I think that I will for sure have significant pan in at least 2 more shadows before the end of the year. That is my prediction. I will finish Tonal, and I will have significant pan in at least 2 shades, and my prediction is for sure Desert, and I think Suede. The other one, obviously, where I'm expecting to see pan is going to be Wheat. So 2 of these 3 is where I'm expecting to see pan. And when I say pan, I'm talking about regular usage. I'm not talking about digging a tunnel. I don't do that. So regular usage pan in at least 2 more shadows other than finishing Tonal. So that is my update for today. Thank you so much for watching my progress on this Pan That palette. I hope you find it entertaining, if not useful. And I do look forward to seeing you in the next Pan That palette update, as well as in the next video. But for now, take care.